Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So this is the second video in my little series of how I got an A star in, and today we're going to be talking about A-level psychology. You guys loved my biology one and you frankly have been loving my videos recently, and I can't thank you all enough. And I know that you guys cannot wait for the same video as the biology one, but obviously for psychology and maths. So welcome to the second video of the series. We are going to be talking about psychology. So again, psychology is one of those subjects that it's very difficult. Some people go in taking psychology A-level as their first time ever experiencing what psychology is about, and I was that case. And the reason why this video is going to be quite different from the biology one is because psychology is a essay-based subject. It's an ambiguous, synoptic subject, in terms of there is not a kind of fixed mark scheme. You could probably get full marks for multiple different answers, which obviously if you watched my biology one, you would have seen that my biggest tip was to do exam questions and learn mark scheme answers. That is not the case for psychology, which is why it can be a really difficult subject to revise. Anyway, my first kind of thing I'm going to talk about is the difference between AO1 and AO3. Obviously, I did AQA for psychology again, so I am going to be talking this based off my own knowledge of AQA. So AO1 and AO3. AO1 is all about your knowledge, and the best way I can try and get this into your head is practice summarising your textbooks and your notes and your lesson kind of PowerPoints plans, because there is so much AO1, so much knowledge, so much theory, so many names, dates, facts, studies. There's so much AO1, but you basically need barely any of it. Even in an essay, in a 16 marker, which I am going to go on to talk about later on in the video, is I'm literally going to do a whole section on 16 markers. But so in a 16 mark essay, you should not be writing more than one page on knowledge, like simple knowledge, basic facts. However, you will establish that about one theory, you could probably write about 6 to 7 pages just on knowledge. So you need to really focus on summarising. The way that I would do this is have a list of questions about key sort of facts. So what are the basic assumptions or elements of the theory? Why was it done? What studies support this, etc. So you need to be pretty much an expert at summarising, which is something that you will build on as you go through A-level psychology, especially as you do mock questions. You'll learn roughly how much you need to write per question. AO3, however, is probably the one thing that everyone struggles with, and it is the most important part of psychology, and that is the evaluation. Psychology, like I said, is a really ambiguous subject. There is multiple theories, facts, studies that can support and go against the same sort of idea in psychology. It's not like biology where it is black and white, there is a right answer and a wrong answer. Psychology is very different, and that is what human life is about. We're not all the same people. How each of us minds works is so different, and that's why this subject is built upon evaluation. Everyone keeps asking me, how the hell do I evaluate? How the hell do I revise my evaluation points? Tip number 2, okay? Every time that you do an evaluation point, or learn evaluation point or read about it, in your notes, write a whole paragraph. Do not write bullet points or quick notes about what the evaluation is. You should write a whole paragraph in your notes per evaluation point. And personally, I would only memorise about 3 to 4 points. In an essay, like I said, I will go on to talk about it in a lot more depth later. You're probably looking at about 4 points, probably 1 point counterpoint, 1 point counterpoint. The reason why I suggest this is because evaluations are very difficult to get your marks for, because you have to go in depth, you have to discuss against yourself, you have to argue against yourself. So if in your notes you're already starting to write paragraphs, even if at the start they're so bad, you're just kind of briefly explaining what they are and why it's a strength, that's okay. It's better to get that practice in early than you starting to just bullet point a strength of this is that, oh, it has external validity because it was in a field experiment, so it used participants in a natural setting. Even if you're just writing a paragraph is better than just writing that bullet point and that being your evaluation, because that won't get you a single mark in an exam. So it's better to start early about learning how to elaborate about what it is that you're actually trying to say in your evaluation points. Another point that obviously, before I go on to talk about the fat essay writing section, which obviously I think is probably one of the most important parts of psychology, is learn your command words. So when I mean command words, I mean this is the word that literally goes at the start of every single question. So for AQA, for example, there's outline, describe, discuss, explain, outline, did I say that one? They're pretty much the same in every single exam board. Like biology, you will see those kind of words, but they mean a lot more in terms of psychology, because that command word tells you exactly whether you are doing AO1, AO2, AO3 and how much of each you're actually doing. Now, a lot of people I feel like do not know and do not make the effort to understand the command words, and I feel like that's probably where you're going to end up losing marks, because for example, if it's a explain and it's like a 4-mark question and you just attempt to describe what the theory is, you're looking at about 1 or 2 marks out of the 4. So for example, I just want to give you a bit of an example because I feel like it will be useful for you to kind of understand. An 8-marker is the second highest amount of marks that you can get in an AQA exam paper, 16 being the most. The difference between an 8-marker that says discuss, a difference between an 8-marker that says explain, and a difference between an 8-marker that says evaluate, they are all completely different. I'll tell you that now. So discuss, that will be 3 marks AO1 and 5 marks AO3. An evaluate 8-marker is you're literally only doing evaluation, as it says kind of in the question. And then obviously you have an explain or a describe. They tend to just be explain when it comes to 8-markers for psychology. That is literally you're just blabbing. AO1 explaining why this was important, why this was relevant, why it did this. So this is a more like critical, analytical, without actually needing to evaluate in terms of strengths and limitations of that theory. So those kind of tips are more like general tips. I would say like if you just followed those, you're probably looking at getting an A. Obviously you still need to follow those in order to get the A star, but I think your essays and also your 8-markers and how you structure your answers explicitly is genuinely what is going to push you to that A star. So 16 markers, they tend to come in a discuss and evaluate or outline and evaluate sort of title. I'll put an example on screen because I very much want to talk about explicit examples. So 16 marker discuss, if we're not talking AO2, which I obviously haven't spoke about yet, but we will go on to talk about, a 16 marker is 6 AO1 marks and 10 AO3 marks. Now, although that's not a like 60-30 split of marks, I would recommend you do 1 page of AO1, 2 pages AO3. So you're looking at about a 3-page essay. Depending on how big your writing is as well. I have quite big writing and I used to write about 3 and a bit pages. So if you do have small writing, don't beat yourself up if you only get about 2.5 pages. I just have big writing. But yeah, realistically, you're looking at a big paragraph of AO1. You could probably split it up into 2. I used to just write a really big fat one, unless it was like I was talking about 2 theories or they were asking me to compare 2 theories, and then I would try and like break it up into 2. So that is basically you blabbering on. Like I said before, you need to learn how to summarize and only include key terminology and key mark points, because you're going to get your marks from using really elaborate like terminology. And then you're going to be looking at about 2 really fat paragraphs for AO3, and I would say they're fat because you're going to want to put your point in, you're going to want to put your counterpoint in, and then you're going to want to put a link at the end. So I don't really believe in like peel paragraphs, but like if that works for you, then go for it. Like if that genuinely is the best way you can do that, then feel free to use them. Which, to be fair, what I'm about to explain to you is kind of the structure of a peel. Peel is point, evidence, explain, link, by the way. If you're doing AOT, by the way, so let's say you get a STEM and you're like, talk about Jeff's experience in your answer. like that kind of question, it will change from being 6, 4, 6. Yeah, so 4 marks AO2, just include that in your AO1. AO2 marks are quite hard to get, so don't beat yourself up if you only get about 2 out of the 4. I really struggled to get an AO2. I don't think it's entirely that important in an essay to really focus on your AO2. It's just bung it in. You need to just put a couple of sentences about Jeff and you're all good. AO3 to me is exactly where your marks come from. For example, obviously the max you can get is 6 if you've only got AO1 in your answer. You need to put a key sentence about what it is that you're arguing. So one strength, literally put the sentence, one strength of learning theory into attachment is blank. Completely outline it, and then you can just do a little sentence underneath kind of explaining what you've said. Like, for example, if it's like one strength is that I use it field studies, you're like, this enables like the increase of external validity, which makes it more applicable to real life settings. So you've kind of like elaborated on your point. Then you need a piece of evidence, so you need to bring in loads of studies. There is so many studies, by the way, for psychology, and I cannot tell you how to revise them because I really struggled. The best way I did it was flashcards in my room and literally writing like a list and testing myself on them the couple of days before the exam. They're really hard, but this is your point. You put in a few studies like blah 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 2010 did this study on this, it supports this argument because blank blank blank. You know, go to town, do about 3 sentences on your study. You then to be explaining what that study showed and how that supports it. So you need to be elaborating more on like what the findings were of the study, not necessarily what he did, but like you've already done that bit. So you want to talk about what the findings were of the study and how that then supports, so kind of linking back to your point. Then your final outline and link. If you're not putting a counter argument in, you're going to be doing a link kind of back to the original point. It will kind of lead more nicely from talking about the findings for you to be able to like repeat yourself and say, therefore external validity increases external validity. However, if you want an A star, counterpoints are you going to be your best friend. You need to be really putting one counterpoint in every essay that you write. When I say counterpoint, this is like blah 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 did a study about this and he found this and that supported this study because, you know, and then you go, however, blah 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 did another study and that actually contradicted the findings of the other study, and therefore this does not support the argument. So you're bringing in like an on the other hand, however. I'm hoping some of you kind of know what that looks like, but to me that is the best way you're going to be able to get an A star, is actually bringing in opposing points in the same paragraph and linking them together. I really wish I still had my psychology work from ALevel, because I would literally put a photo of like an essay that I've done on the screen. I'm gonna actually try my absolute hardest to find one, and I'm gonna whack it on screen now for you guys to read if I found one. But yeah, I'm really sorry if there's literally nothing there on the screen right now. My final point about essays really is that you've got to remember it's a synoptic subject. Now this is really stretching your A star, okay? This is like you're going far into the grey boundary. If you can pull other topics from different sections of psychology into your essays, so for example you could be writing about attachment, but if somehow you remembered a theory from gender and you can link that in, no, like you don't need to be writing like paragraphs on it, like just a sentence or two, you can somehow link it into your argument. Honestly, the examiner will literally be chef kissing your answer, and you'll be awarded loads of marks. But yeah, I feel like that's everything I've got to say about psychology. This video was a lot ramblier, a lot longer than my biology one, so I'm really sorry about that. But hopefully I kind of have broken it down into of like your actual A star tips that you need to be doing in order to get those top marks. So yeah, I really hope this has helped you. I've obviously got a lot of exciting uni videos coming up soon, so if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. Honestly, it would mean the absolute world to me. And yeah, I can promise you that my upcoming videos are going to be really exciting, and yeah, hopefully you'll like them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video anyway, and I will see you next time with another video.